Hi, this is Rick for EDU Mobile. Now we're going to look at getters and setters and calculated properties as well. I want to do this in the context of a class. We could certainly do this in the context of a struct. And something like length would probably be better done in a concept of or in the context of a structure. But basically what we have here is a class. It has a stored property, a single stored property, and two or three calculated properties that go off that stored property. The stored property is inches. So what we're going to do is store the length as inches, but then calculate some conversions to centimeters, feet, and meters in this case. So we store inches as a double, and we've defined a will set property observer setting inches to new value. Now, in the initializers, when we call this and actually set inches for the first time, the will set and did set don't run. Properties observers only run when we set them using getters and setters, not when we set them from an initializer. So we'll see that here in a moment. All right, so here centimeters is a calculated property that also sets the value of a stored property. So centimeters is defined as a calculated property. We have the brackets here, and then we have get and set. When we get centimeters, we just return inches times 2.54. This is a conversion from inches to centimeters. Now, what this does is it refers to inches. But now what happens if we were to try to set centimeters? Well, in this case, it would work. But if we don't define a setter for centimeters here, since it's a calculated property, we can't set it. We can certainly set inches. It's a stored property. How do we know the difference between a calculated property and a stored property? It doesn't say calculated or stored in front of it. We know because we don't define a getter and a setter in this get set bracket syntax. So the setter for centimeters sets inches to a new value divided by 2.54. Feet and meters are just getter properties, if you will. They're calculated properties with getters only. So feet as double, and when we get it, we return inches divided by 12. And then meters, notice what we do here. We could convert inches to meters, but note that we've also got a getter for centimeters. When we return centimeters divided by 100, what's happening is that it is calling centimeters getter, getting that value from inches, multiplying it by 2.54, and then dividing the result by 100. So calculated properties can be very powerful, and they can save you from actually storing properties in your classes and your structures. This works in structures as well. Now, we have a couple of initializers here, a no-arg initializer that just sets inches to 0, and a argument initializer with inches set as double, and then just sets inches to the parameter inches. Notice that since the parameter name is the same as our stored property name, we need to resolve the parameter, or we need to resolve the property by using self.inches, and the parameter name takes precedence, so this is just inches. Another thing to look at here is in the setter of centimeters. Notice that we use this new value here. Where is new value? Well, new value is the parameter of set if we don't supply one. If we change this to, let's say, cent value for centimeters, then we've changed the name, and new value no longer works, so we would have to use cent value here. But if by default, if we don't supply a parameter name here, we get one, and it's called new value. So let's change this back, because that's rather convenient, actually. So let's just do that, and now we're all set. All right, so let's set up a distance here that is a length in inches of 54. So notice that what we've done here is we have instantiated a class. In a real application, we would need to be aware that we have a reference type, not a value type. So now we can get centimeters, calculated property, inches, which is the property itself, meters, and feet. Now, notice also that we do have a setter defined on centimeters. If we change centimeters here, notice that we'll change inches, meters, and feet just normally. So let's go ahead and set this to, say, 57 centimeters. And once it runs, inches has been changed to 22 and almost 22 and a half. Meters is 0.57 because that makes sense. 57 centimeters is 0.57 meters. And then feet is 1.8, 1.9, something like that. Okay, so we have a calculated property here, but it's actually in its setter setting the underlying stored property, which is inches. Thank you very much.